Our planet holds hidden treasures still waiting to be discovered. Wonders that remain unknown to much of the world. Some places are filled with danger, yet once the obstacles are overcome, astonishing marvels are revealed. They are landscapes where nature unleashed its imagination. Others are the work of human genius, built in places where construction once seemed impossible. In this documentary, we explore breathtaking corners of the planet that remain largely unseen by the world. We'll travel to extraordinary settings that seem pulled straight from a dream. Dachau Cave, China. Amid the mountains and jungles of Guangxi, in southern China, lies a geological wonder of monumental proportions. It is a colossal sinkhole that formed when an underground cavern collapsed. Descending into it is perilous, demanding advanced caving and climbing skills. The mouth of the sinkhole is astonishing. Many of these formations drop vertically, the equivalent of a descending skyscraper. Here, untouched virgin forests have thrived for thousands of years without human interference. Sunlight filters softly through the opening, allowing species adapted to dim light and high humidity to flourish. At the bottom, there is a massive entrance to a scarcely explored cave. To uncover its hidden treasures, explorers must go underground, squeezing through narrow rock gaps. There is a real danger of getting trapped if space is misjudged and oxygen can become scarce in poorly ventilated sections. As you descend, vast caverns appear, true underground worlds concealed from the surface. Rainwater and surface streams have seeped through the rock. Sometimes it's ancient water trapped for centuries, accumulating minerals that give it a rich color. Deep within the earth, geological galleries emerge, patiently sculpted over time. With every drop that falls, minerals have slowly built up, forming genuine stone waterfalls. Hukou Waterfall, China. It's the second largest waterfall in China, and the biggest on the Yellow River. The water takes on a muddy yellow hue as it carries a heavy load of sediment. Normally, the Yellow River is wide, but at Hukou, it suddenly narrows. When it constricts, the water rushes through a natural funnel, gaining incredible speed and force. What falls is not just water, but a thick mixture of silt, clay, and sand that magnifies the waterfall's power. Son Doong Cave, Vietnam. This is the largest cave on Earth discovered so far. It's estimated to be big enough to fit skyscrapers 40 stories tall. In 1991, a local farmer named Hao Kan found the entrance while seeking shelter in the jungle, but the cave remained unknown to science until 2009. One of its most awe-inspiring spaces is the Garden of Adam, a hidden jungle formed after the ceiling collapsed. Here, sunlight pierces through, creating the ideal conditions for tropical trees to grow. Sumgan Kutuk Cave, Russia. Located in the Ural Mountains, it's one of the longest and deepest caves in the entire region. It's believed that its rectangular entrance formed when the ceiling of an ancient cavern caved in. Erosion has shaped its contours until it resembles a gateway into the earth itself. With 3 levels, vast chambers, and vertical shafts, the cave's complexity hints at hidden or still inaccessible passages. Sea of Blue Tears, Pingtan, China. This natural phenomenon takes place along the coast of Pingtan in Fujian province. It's caused by tiny marine organisms called dinoflagellants that multiply in warm, calm, nutrient-rich waters. When the sea is disturbed, each organism emits a blue flash that, multiplied by millions, lights up the entire shoreline. It's one of the few places on Earth where this spectacle can be seen regularly and without special equipment. Mount Chimera, Turkey. This legendary site in the Antalya Peninsula features eternal flames that have burned from the rock day and night for thousands of years. The small fires flickering on the hillside are caused by methane seeping from the ground and igniting upon contact with air. When the gas meets surface oxygen, it ignites spontaneously, creating flames that never go out. By day, the fires are faint, like tiny flickers dancing in the wind. By night, they become a mesmerizing spectacle. Jawatan Forest, Indonesia. Located on the island of Java, it has become famous for its almost fantasy-like atmosphere, reminiscent of scenes from epic films. It's filled with massive century-old tamarind trees, whose trunks are wrapped in moss and vines. Originally planted during the Dutch colonial period, over time they transformed into a forest that now feels completely natural. Hvalir, Iceland. This geothermal area sits at the base of Mount Nemafjall in northern Iceland, where minerals paint the ground in surreal colors. No vegetation grows here. The heat, acids, and gases make the terrain completely barren. From the cracks, white steam plumes rise, visible from afar. The earth bubbles constantly with gray mud pools that seem to boil endlessly. Red Beach, Panjin, China. In Liaoning Province lies this unique coastal wetland glowing in shades of red. It's the largest salt marsh wetland on Earth, serving as a sanctuary for hundreds of bird species. The red color comes from Sueta salsa, a plant that thrives in saline soils and turns crimson in autumn. Nowhere else on the planet does this plant cover such vast areas or display such an intense red hue as it does in Panjin. Surtsey, Iceland. One of the youngest islands on Earth, it's a living natural laboratory that appeared suddenly in the North Atlantic. It formed between 1963 and 1967 when underwater eruptions piled up lava and ash until they broke the ocean surface. Because it's made of a fragile volcanic material, most of the island has already been eroded by the sea. It became an ideal site for studying biological colonization, as human access was restricted from the start. Today, Surtsey is home to seabirds, plants, lichens, and insects, an ecosystem still in the making. White Volcano, Indonesia. This turquoise lake fills a volcanic crater surrounded by a desolate gray landscape heavy with sulfur. The scene feels unreal and ghostly. Dark leafless trees circle the lake while columns of sulfurous steam rise from the water. It's one of the few volcanic lakes in the world where the color of the water changes constantly, sometimes within just hours or days. In ancient times, locals avoided the site after seeing birds fall dead while flying over the crater, overcome by toxic gases. Kotzky Pillar, Georgia. This massive stone column towers above the Kachukra Valley with striking force. Over the centuries, erosion wore away the surrounding rock, yet this monumental block endured thanks to its strength. At its flat summit stands a medieval church and a hermitage that seems to float in the sky. In 1993, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Orthodox monk Maxim Kavtardas climbed the pillar and lived there in solitude for 20 years. Sanctuary of Madonna della Corona, Italy. This church appears to hang between the sky and the rock, as if suspended over a void. It's literally embedded into a cliff face on Mount Baldo, overlooking the Adige River Valley. Its origins trace back to the 16th century, when the first church was built on the same precipice in 1522. Honoko'ea Falls, United States. Located in the island of Maui, deep within the lush rainforest of the Lau Valley, this site is remote and difficult to access. The surroundings, filled with towering trees, vines, and ferns, evoke a primeval world. It remains untouched, free of human impact, a pure expression of nature in its raw state. The falls plunge in two tiers down cliffs covered in vibrant greenery. At the base, a vast natural amphitheater has formed, with a large pool of water at its center. Wulong Geological Park, China. This geological wonder is home to the three natural bridges formed by the collapse of prehistoric caverns. They are enormous sinkholes sheltering hidden forests inside, like isolated worlds apart from the surface. Unlike other remote sites, here there are marked trails that make it easier for visitors to explore. Tianlong Bridge, with its almost surreal and fantastical appearance, has served as a filming location for major movies. At the end of the route stands the Tianfu Post House, a reconstruction of the official inn once used by the Imperial Chinese government. Today it's a secluded place, but in the past it was part of the imperial roads and trade routes connecting the southwestern provinces of China. Salto del Agrio, Argentina. Nestled in the Andes mountain range, this waterfall is remarkable for the unusual colors of its water and rocks. The hues of yellow, green, and red come from volcanic minerals and sediments carried by the Agrio River. The water plunges into a circular crater-shaped pool surrounded by volcanic rock walls, like a natural stage crafted by the earth itself. Changyi Dangshui National Park, China. This park is famous for its multicolored mountains, an outstanding example of Danxia's formations, a unique landscape of red sandstone rocks. Ancient Chinese poets described it as an ocean of solidified flames, at a time when its origin remained a mystery. The hills undulate its smooth waves, with gentle slopes and sharp ridges stretching like bands of color. Red tones come from oxidized iron, green from copper minerals, yellow from sulfur compounds, and gray from clay mixtures. Taal Volcano, Philippines. Situated in Batangas Province, it's known both for its intense volcanic activity and for its extraordinary geological structure. In January 2020, it erupted violently, sending a massive column of ash into the sky and forcing tens of thousands of people to evacuate. The volcano sits within Lake Taal, a vast volcanic lake formed by ancient explosions. Inside the lake lies a central volcanic island, and within that island is an active crater holding another lake. Even within the inner lake, there's a tiny islet, often described as the island within the lake, within the crater within the island. Anlong Pyramids, China. Located in Guizhou Province, these formations gained fame for their striking resemblance to the pyramids of Egypt. Some theories claim they were man-made, yet geologists agree they're natural formations sculpted by geological processes about 200 million years ago. Local authorities have identified at least 15 pyramids and are promoting the creation of observation centers and tourist sites. Residents of Guizhou tell stories of a lost civilization behind their origin, giving the area an air of mystery. Molnar János Cave, Hungary. This astonishing underwater cave lies beneath the city of Budapest, a unique site for exploration and diving. Over thousands of years, infiltrating thermal waters carved out its passageways. The result is an intricate labyrinth submerged in warm water, with tunnels and chambers glowing beneath the surface. Although it has been known since the 19th century, serious exploration began in the 1950s, and even today, new galleries continue to be discovered. Hengifoss, Iceland. This waterfall stands out for the striking contrast of its walls, where black basalt layers alternate with red bands of volcanic clay. It flows from the Hengifossa River, which descends from volcanic plateaus to the highlands to the valley below. The cliffs were formed about 5 million years ago by successive volcanic eruptions that laid down layers of lava. Between those lava flows, iron and clay-rich sediments accumulated and gradually turned red through oxidation. Gaoqiling, China. This area of Qinzhou is famous for its dizzying trails that wind along narrow ridges of rolling mountains. It's been compared to a sea of petrified red waves. The landscape, visible today, took around 20 million years of geological transformation. Although the trail is considered safe, some narrow stretches without railings demand careful walking. It was once little known until viral photos on social media made it a popular destination. Canema National Park, Venezuela. Located in Venezuela's Guiana Highlands, this park belongs to one of the oldest geological formations on Earth, about 2 billion years old. Powerful rivers carve through the reserve, forming lagoons tinted reddish and golden by high concentrations of minerals and tannins. It resembles a lost world, vast green jungles broken by towering rock plateaus that rise like natural fortresses. The tepuis have sheer vertical walls and flat tops, resembling colossal tables suspended above the forest. Their cliffs look so perfectly sculpted that they appear man-made. From the summits flow rivers and waterfalls, including Angel Falls, the highest waterfall on the planet. Water has been streaming from its summit for millions of years, ever since erosion split open the plateau into cracks and canyons. The cascade plunges from the top of the tupui, dissolving into mist and spray as it falls. Lena Pillars, Russia. The Lena River begins in the Baikal Mountains of southern Siberia and flows north into the Arctic Ocean, cutting through a cold, remote land. Along its right bank stretch these breathtaking vertical cliffs made of limestone, dolomite, and shale. Their origin dates back 500 million years to the early Cambrian period, when this region lay beneath shallow seas. Siberia's harsh climate, icy winters, and warm summers fractured the rock through cycles of freezing and thawing, carving out pillars and spires. Man-Pupu-Nor rock formations, Russia. This group of 7 towering stone giants rises from the wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains. They're considered one of Russia's 7 wonders for their rarity, massive rock pillars shaped like human silhouettes or mythical giants. The region is blanketed in taiga and tundra, with long, brutal winters and rugged terrain that's difficult to reach. Over millions of years, erosion stripped away the softer rock, leaving behind these solitary, resilient monoliths. Anjiha Grand Canyon, China. Carved by the relentless force of the Anjiha River over thousands of years, this canyon reveals cliffs streaked with vibrant colors. The sediments carried by the river have formed reddish layers tinged with iron minerals. Despite its ancient origins, the canyon only recently gained fame after aerial photos spread widely across social media. Dahab Blue Hole, Egypt. One of the ocean's natural jewels lies in the northern Red Sea, within the Gulf of Aqaba. The walls of this underwater sinkhole are coated in coral, home to tropical fish, sponges, and a rich array of marine life. It formed when a cavern collapsed, leaving a deep hole that eventually filled with seawater and connected to the open ocean. Divers from around the world come here seeking extreme challenges. The Blue Hole links to the sea through a submerged passage. Yet despite its beauty, it's deadly. The passage has claimed the lives of divers who tried to explore it. Local legends tell of a ghostly lady who haunts the Blue Hole, luring the unwary to their tragic fate. Østfold Glacier Waterfalls, Norway. The vast ice cap is located on Nordøstlotland Island, part of the Svalbard archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. It's one of the few Arctic places where rivers, lagoons, waterfalls, and meltwater pools coexist on the ice. During the warmer season, meltwater gathers in cracks and depressions, forming small rivers. Sometimes these streams merge into great arteries of liquid water flowing across solid ice. At the glacier's edge, where the ice meets the ocean, the rivers plunge straight into the sea, creating spectacular icy waterfalls. Capitol Reef National Park, Utah, United States. This protected area in Utah is known for its towering red cliffs, white rock formations, and dramatic geological folds. The Fremont River runs east to west through the park, carving a green valley amid the arid desert. Wind and water have exposed rock layers spanning from the Permian to the Cretaceous, revealing 200 million years of Earth's history. The red hue comes from iron oxides in the rock, while uneven erosion has sculpted cliffs and ridges. In the northern section, the bentonite hills were formed from volcanic ash that chemically altered over millions of years. Their surfaces are soft and rounded since the clay erodes easily. The colors shift with moisture, bluish-gray when dry, but greenish or reddish depending on the minerals present, such as iron, manganese, or calcium. Kerala, India. This coastal state, known as the Land of the Ghosts, is celebrated for its lush nature, ancient culture, and deep spirituality. Its rich vegetation forms dense tropical forests that shelter elephants, tigers, and brilliantly colored exotic birds. Golden beaches lined with swaying palm trees stretch along its coast. Inland lie the backwaters, a serene network of lagoons and canals bordered by rice fields, villages, and coconut groves. To the east rise the Western Ghats, a mountain range blanketed with tea, cardamom, and coffee plantations. Here lies Perunthapura, a scientific viewpoint offering sweeping vistas of the region. Tugela Falls, South Africa. For a long time, it held the title of the world's tallest waterfall, until new measurements of Angel Falls in Venezuela placed it in second position. It originates in the basalt cliffs of the amphitheater, a dramatic geological formation created by volcanic eruptions around 180 million years ago. The name Tugela comes from the Zulu word thakula, meaning sudden or unexpected, referring to the force with which the water surges during the rainy season. Pingshan Grand Canyon, China. Recognized as one of Hubei's natural wonders, this canyon impresses visitors with its steep cliffs and the powerful river flowing through it. It was carved by the Jinsha River, whose force sculpted for millions of years the rock layers formed by the Himalayan uplift and Tibetan tectonic activity. In some places, the gorge narrows so tightly that only one boat can pass at a time. To the west, not far away, lies the Shizguan Floating Bridge, an unusual walkway that drifts on the Guingjiang River. Built with steel and floating foam, it remains steady thanks to chains anchoring it to the riverbed. Detwa Lagoon, Yemen. Located on the island of Socotra in the Indian Ocean, this site is famed for its rarity and uniqueness, so much so that many call it Earth's alien island. Its tropical arid climate, influenced by monsoons, creates striking contrasts. Lush green areas during the wet season and desert landscapes the rest of the year. The island split from Africa millions of years ago, and its isolation gave rise to species found nowhere else on Earth. Along Socotra's coast lies Detwa Lagoon, a turquoise mirror framed by white sands. Golden tongues of sand stretch into the water like brushstrokes, forming curves and spirals that shift with every tide. Death Valley, United States. Located in southeastern California within the Mojave Desert, it's known for its extreme heat, dryness, and for being one of the lowest points in North America. Its landscapes change dramatically. The Eureka Dunes appear as a golden sea of sand surrounded by dark mountains. These are California's tallest dunes, and due to their remoteness, the area remains silent and rarely visited. Another extraordinary sight within Death Valley is Badwater Basin, a white, cracked expanse of salt. Its lowest point lies 86 meters or 282 feet below sea level, the lowest elevation on the continent. The surface is covered with geometric salt patterns formed by the sun's expansion and contraction cycles. Racetrack Playa, a dry lake in the northwest of the valley, is a flat plain of hardened, cracked mud encircled by barren mountains. Some rocks weighing up to 300 kilograms, about 662 pounds, mysteriously move across the surface, leaving long trails behind them. The mystery endured for decades, until scientists discovered the stones glide when thin ice sheets form beneath them and are pushed by the wind. Another striking feature, the Devil's Golf Course, is a jagged landscape of hardened salt formations that crack into sharp, irregular points. The terrain is so rough that crossing it can be dangerous. The salt rocks are as hard as concrete and as sharp as glass. Mount Kelimutu, Indonesia. In the heart of Flores Island rises the forested volcano, crowned with 3 crater lakes, each with a color that changes over time. They shift from brilliant turquoise to emerald green, black, brown, red, or even milky white. These transformations occur as volcanic minerals react with gases and heat still emanating from within the volcano. According to local legend, the lakes are the final resting place of souls. One receives the spirits of the elderly, another of the young, and the third of those who led sinful lives. Simpson Desert, Australia. This harsh central region of the country is considered the world's largest desert of parallel dunes. Its remoteness and hostile conditions made it one of the last areas of Australia to be explored. It forms the planet's most extensive system of linear dunes, with endless red ridges stretching up to 200 kilometers, about 125 miles. The red color comes from iron oxides in the sand, which glow spectacularly under the light of sunrise and sunset. Phong Nha Bang National Park, Vietnam. This impressive geological region contains a vast cave system formed roughly 400 million years ago. The tranquil green waters of the Sun River flow directly through the main entrance. Inside are enormous limestone chambers. Towering stalactites, stalagmites, and massive columns have formed where the two meet. Zijin Cave, China. Located in Guizhou Province, this colossal cave system is filled with extraordinary geological formations. It's known as the largest underground museum on Earth due to its diversity of its structures, some of which are found nowhere else in the world. The cave has expanded over 2 million years without major collapses, accounting for its immense size. It includes a vast network of explored passages and reaches the height of a multi-story skyscraper. Inside, rare formations appear: delicate gypsum flowers, twisted columns, and thin rocky veils. Near the entrance, where sunlight reaches, mosses, ferns, and lichens thrive in the damp air. Algar do Cavá, Portugal. Around 2,000 years ago, a volcanic eruption expelled lava, leaving behind an empty chimney. Over millennia, water and other natural forces sculpted the hollow, creating a volcanic tube. The tunnel leads to a dark green abyss, carpeted with ferns, mosses, and lichens that cling to the moist volcanic rock. Quebrada Gata, Costa Rica. This canyon, blanketed in lush vegetation, is home to several waterfalls, feeding a crystal-clear river. It remains almost unknown, even among Costa Ricans, with no marked trails and virtually untouched by tourism. Because of its isolation, many of the waterfalls have yet to be named. Each cascade creates serene, natural pools, peaceful oases embraced by greenery. Zhuhai Valley, China. Its name means Valley of the Nine Villages, a tribute to the Tibetan communities that once inhabited the region. The area is covered with virgin forests that change dramatically with the seasons. In autumn, the trees turn red, orange, and yellow, creating a magical contrast with the turquoise blue lakes. Here, the Noerlang waterfall stands out for its unparalleled autumn beauty, framed by multicolored forests. In Tibetan, its name translates to majestic and masculine, a reflection of its powerful presence. Inle Lake, Myanmar. Surrounded by mountains, this freshwater lake is home to the Intha people, known for their water-based custom and unique way of life. Its high altitude makes it a cool, fertile lake, ideal for human settlement. For centuries, Intha communities have migrated here and developed a way of life entirely adapted to the water. Thousands of residents live in stilt houses connected only by narrow boat passages. Around 20 communities are established directly on the lake, complete with temples, homes, and schools. Vast areas are covered with floating gardens where residents grow tomatoes, cucumbers, flowers, and other crops. A remarkable sight is the Intha fishermen, who row with one leg while balancing on the other, a technique found nowhere else in the world. Bay of Fires, Australia. This coastal stretch on northeastern Tasmania is marked by bright red granite rocks that, under the sunlight, appear to set the shore ablaze. Although the name Bay of Fires is now associated with the color of the rocks, it was originally given in 1773 in reference to the Aboriginal campfires seen from the sea. The massive granite formations that dominate the coastline were shaped by tectonic processes millions of years ago. The vivid red hue doesn't come from the rock itself, but from the lichens that thrive on its surface in the moist marine environment. The Ciudad Encantada of Cuenca, Spain. Among the most remarkable geological landscapes in Spain and Europe, this stone forest feels like something out of a fantasy world. It's called enchanted because ancient shepherds believed the rocks were magical and inhabited by spirits. The enormous rock masses display surreal shapes, resembling animals, tools, and buildings. The landscape originated from a sea that once covered the area about 90 million years ago. Its limestone layers compacted and were later sculpted by water, ice, and wind. Mount Popa, Myanmar. This extinct volcano rises above the central forest of the country, formed by eruptions some 250,000 years ago. At its summit stands the Tuang Kalat Monastery, adorned with golden temples and pagodas, while modest homes cluster at its base. It's considered the spiritual heart of the Nats, the protective spirits of Burmese tradition, drawing countless pilgrims each year. Caño Cristalas, Colombia. Known as the River of Five Colors, or the Liquid Rainbow. During the rainy season, its riverbed turns vivid shades of red, green, yellow, blue, and black. The colors come from the Macarena clavigira, a plant that flourishes when water levels allow both sunlight and growth to coexist. Jericoacoara, Brazil. This is a small village in the state of Ceará, northern Brazil. Its landscapes bring together the desert, the sea, dunes that shift with the wind, and turquoise lagoons. Immense white dunes rise like a Saharan desert behind the sea. Between May and September, during the rainy season, fresh water collects between the dunes, forming crystal clear lagoons. Thanks to its consistent winds for much of the year, Jericoacoara is recognized as Brazil's capital of windsurfing and kitesurfing. Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. Part of the Afar Depression, this region lies where three tectonic plates slowly drift apart. It's known as one of the most extreme and fascinating places on Earth, with the geology so unusual it looks otherworldly. Often called the Gateway to Hell, the area endures blistering heat, ceaseless volcanic activity, and surreal landscapes. In Dalal, underground water rises to the surface, charged with minerals. Under the scorching sun, the water evaporates quickly, leaving behind layers of hardened salt and colorful pools of mineral deposits. Sumidero Canyon, Mexico. Formed by the Grijalva River, this canyon is one of the most monumental in the world. Few canyons boast such high vertical walls in such a short span. To ancient peoples, it was sacred. Legend tells that local warriors leapt from its cliffs to avoid Spanish conquest. The canyon's vegetation thrives thanks to a unique microclimate created by the river, which brings cool, humid air that nourishes the surrounding jungle. Tiger Leaping Gorge, China. With towering mountains flanking the river, this is one of the deepest gorges on the planet. It was carved by the Jingsha River, which eroded the mountains over millions of years. The vast current is forced through narrow passage, becoming turbulent and wild. According to legend, a tiger once escaped a hunter by leaping across the gorge, hence the name, commemorated by a statue called the Tiger Leaping Rock. Rio Tinto, Spain. Located in Huelva province, this landscape is famous for the deep red color of its waters and its acidic environment, inhospitable to most life forms. The river contains high concentrations of iron, copper, and zinc due to its mineral dissolution from ancient mines in the region. Mining has taken place here for at least 5,000 years. Its riverbanks are barren in places, streaked with visible mineral veins and metal deposits. The microorganisms that survive here thrive in conditions similar to those on Mars, making the site a key research field for NASA. Mount Yasur, Vanuatu. Situated on the island of Tanna, this volcano is remarkably accessible and renowned for its continuous eruptions. It's one of the few volcanoes in the world where visitors can walk right up to the crater's edge to witness eruptions firsthand. Its bursts of ash, fire, and molten rock create a spectacular natural display. Known as the Lighthouse of the Pacific, its glowing eruptions were once visible from the ocean, guiding sailors across the waters. El Tacho, Chile. Located in northern Chile, deep in the Atacama Desert, is the third largest geothermal field in the world and the highest in elevation. Water rises from underground magma chambers and emerges at the surface as fumaroles, boiling pools, and geysers. At dawn, the freezing air contrasts sharply with the boiling water below, creating towering columns of white steam. El Tacho contains about 85 active geysers, roughly 8% of all those of Earth. Ninh Binh, Vietnam. Often called the Inland Ha Long Bay, this region is famed for its dramatic limestone peaks, rising between rice fields and winding rivers. The Sao Ky River, also known as Trang An, snakes through the valleys and mountains. The landscape formed under the humid tropical climate, where acid rain gradually dissolved the rock over time. Natural caves and tunnels connect hidden lagoons within the mountains. One of the main attractions is Hang Muao, or Dancing Cave. Reaching its lookout requires climbing hundreds of steps carved into the hillside. From the top, visitors can admire the river's graceful curves, flowing among rice paddies and limestone cliffs. Sümele Monastery, Turkey. Built into a sheer cliff face, this Orthodox monastery is dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Its facade is constructed from stone blocks quarried from the same mountain, blending perfectly with the rock wall. According to legend, it was founded in 386 AD by two Greek monks who discovered an icon of the Virgin Mary in a cave within the cliff. Guangxi Sinkhole, China. In the autonomous region of Guangxi lies this extraordinary natural pit. It remains almost unexplored, preserving a mysterious primordial atmosphere. Over millennia, mineral-rich water shaped unique geological formations. Inside grows a small ecosystem of ferns and plants that survive on moisture and indirect sunlight. Garni Gorge, Armenia. This canyon is flanked by towering cliffs, formed by hexagonal and pentagonal basalt columns. Their symmetry and scale gives the appearance of ancient architecture, as if built by a lost civilization. Yet they're entirely natural, created by ancient volcanic eruptions whose lava cooled slowly and fractured into polygonal patterns. Locals call it the Symphony of Stones, as the columns resemble the pipes of a grand organ. Rock Islands, Palau. Hundreds of jungle-covered islets rise from turquoise lagoons in this Pacific paradise. Officially, there are more than 250 islands, though the number varies with tides and definitions. Erosion by waves sculpted their mushroom-like shape with broad tops resting on narrow bases. One island hosts the famous Jellyfish Lake, home to millions of non-stinging jellyfish that swim peacefully alongside visitors. Nearby lies the German Channel, an artificial canal built by German colonists in the early 1900s. It later became a thriving marine ecosystem where ocean currents concentrate an incredible variety of sea life. Uralsky Mars, Russia. This former bauxite mine in Sverdlovsk Oblast, deep in the Ural Mountains, is known for its striking red soil. The vivid hues come from high concentrations of iron and aluminum oxides in the earth and rock. Unlike the surrounding taiga, few plants grow here because of the soil's acidity. Geologists study it as a terrestrial example of how certain minerals and processes create landscapes similar to those seen on Mars. Anaga Rural Park, Spain. Located in northeastern Tenerife, this laurel forest is a lush, misty relic of the Tertiary period. The park's elevation and proximity to the ocean create a sea of clouds, which maintains the humidity needed for the Laura Silva to survive. These forests are living fossils, remnants of vegetation that covered the Mediterranean region 20 million years ago before the Ice Ages. Along Anaga's northern coast, lush slopes drop dramatically into the Atlantic, creating a striking natural contrast. Rio do Fogo, Brazil. The name de Fogo, meaning of fire, comes from old tales describing glowing lights in the water caused by marine bioluminescence. As it reaches the coast, the river splits into winding branches that trace dark lines across the sandy beach. Its deep color comes from sediments and organic matter carried from inland sources. Offshore lie coral reefs that, during low tide, trap seawater between coral and rock, forming vast, crystal-clear natural pools. Rio do Fogo is part of Brazil's reef system, the third largest on Earth, after Australia's Great Barrier Reef and the Mesoamerican Reef in the Caribbean. Los Gatos, Colombia. A shallow, reddish-purple stream flows over smooth rock. The whirlpools, the constant flow of water, and the soft rock have allowed natural pools to form. During the dry season, when the water level drops, the round holes become visible, contrasting beautifully with the red rock. Lake Toba, Indonesia. This is the largest volcanic lake in the world, formed within the crater of a colossal eruption 74,000 years ago. The explosion released enormous amounts of volcanic material, blanketing much of southeastern Asia in ash and altering the global climate for years. Scientists believe it cooled the planet for nearly a decade, threatening early human survival. In the center lies Samosir Island, created by the uplift of volcanic terrain. The Batak people who inhabit the island consider both the lake and the land sacred. Samosir is one of the largest islands in the world, located inside a lake, smaller than Singapore but larger than Andorra. Mariana Trench. This is the deepest known point in the Earth's oceans. Located in the Western Pacific, a place shrouded in mystery and extreme conditions. At its greatest depth, pressure exceeds 1,100 atmospheres, strong enough to crush any unreinforced human structure. Sunlight barely reaches the lower layers, leaving the region in perpetual darkness. Scientists study the trench as a model for how life might develop on the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn. It's an area of intense tectonic activity where earthquakes and underwater volcanic eruptions are common. Although it's an extreme and hostile environment, surprising creatures survive there. These organisms are capable of surviving in conditions that are deadly to almost any other living being. Among them is a peculiar deep-sea fish of the Ophidiidae family, known for living solitary lives. Other regions of the Pacific Ocean are home to peculiar colonies of glass sponges. Their unusual appearance led scientists to name them the forests of the strange. Many of these abysmal creatures produce their own light, an adaptation to total darkness. Forsythius plectodon lives at depths of up to 300 meters, around 985 feet. It usually remains hidden in burrows waiting for its prey. The bigfin squid is extremely difficult to observe in its natural environment. It can reach lengths of up to 7 meters, about 23 feet, and lives nearly 5,000 meters, or 16,400 feet below the surface. The glass squid, Taenius borealis, has a semi-transparent body that provides exceptional camouflage in the deep sea. Its gelatinous form, large head, and enormous eyes make it perfectly adapted to the ocean's black depths. Wolf Creek Crater, Australia. Considered one of the best preserved meteorite craters on Earth, it was formed around 120,000 years ago by the impact of an iron meteor weighing about 50,000 tons. The collision released energy equivalent to several atomic bombs, gouging a massive hole in the desert floor. Despite its age, it remained unknown until 1947, when geologists spotted it flying over the region. Tatori Sand Dunes, Japan. Along the Sea of Japan, coast stretches a rare landscape for the country, a vast expanse of golden dunes facing the ocean. Some dunes rise dramatically, their shapes constantly shifting under the wind's touch. They formed over tens of thousands of years as the Sendai River carried sediments from the mountains to the sea. The wind sculpts ripples and geometric patterns that change daily, like nature's moving artwork. Bajiaoshan, China. It's part of the Danxia mountain range, between the provinces of Hunan and Guangxi. Shrouded in misty forests, the peaks rise up in a mysterious atmosphere. Its peaks are covered in bright green subtropical vegetation that contrasts strikingly with the deep red rock. Suspended walkways cling to the cliffs, allowing visitors to stroll among the heights. They were built using traditional techniques rather than modern machinery, designed to blend seamlessly into the landscape. Zion National Park, United States. A beloved destination for hikers and climbers, Zion is one of the Utah's Mighty 5 national parks. The word Zion means refuge or sanctuary in Hebrew, a name given by Mormon settlers who saw it as a sacred place. Zion Canyon is a deep valley carved by the Virgin River, winding through meadows and forests and narrowing into sections like the Narrows. On this iconic route, the red rock walls rise majestically, and in some sections the gorge narrows to the limit. Sunlight barely enters some sections, creating a dim atmosphere. Depending on the season, the river's flow changes, sometimes requiring visitors to wade through deep, cool water. To the south is Angel's Landing, a challenging trail that ascends to a prominent rocky ridge. The climb is particularly steep and is considered a rite of passage for hikers visiting Zion. It's not recommended for those afraid of heights. From the summit, panoramic views stretch across the canyon and its famous sandstone peaks. Arch of Time, Mexico. Located in Chiapas, this is the largest natural arch in the world, a monumental stone structure shaped over millions of years by flowing water. During erosion and natural collapse, part of the rock fault gave way, leaving behind a colossal stone bridge. Hidden deep within a remote jungle, it remains remarkably well preserved. Gyumri Ridge, Russia. In Dagestan, the Great Stone Wall rises above vast green valleys. Its flat upper plateau, blanketed in grass, has long served as traditional pasture land. Along the edge, light and dark rock layers plunge sharply into the valleys below. The formation originated from limestone and marine sediments deposited during the Mesozoic era, when the region was covered by shallow seas. Itabazeño Canyon, Brazil. Located within Aparados da Serra National Park, on the border between Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina, this canyon is one of Brazil's natural wonders. It was born from a massive volcanic outpouring during the Cretaceous period, one of the largest volcanic events in Earth's history, between 135 and 130 million years ago. During the rainy season, waterfalls cascade down its walls, turning the canyon into a theater of liquid curtains. Ball Pyramid, Australia. This sharp volcanic pinnacle juts out of the Pacific Ocean in a perfect pyramid shape. It's the remnant of a submarine volcano that collapsed about 6 million years ago, leaving behind jagged spires of rock. Svyach Tatarstan, Russia. Located where the Svyaga River meets the Volga, this small island town in the Republic of Tatarstan holds immense historical and cultural significance. It represents a unique blend of Orthodox Russian tradition, Tatar heritage, and a storied military past. Waimangu Volcanic Valley, New Zealand. This is the youngest geothermal system on the planet, just 140 years old, located in Rotorua on New Zealand's North Island. The valley feels alive. Green hills shrouded in steam, lakes bubbling with geothermic heat. In the Inferno crater, water levels and temperatures rise and fall cyclically over weeks, as if the Earth were breathing. Nearby lies Wa'otapu, another geothermal area famous for its vivid colors, mud craters, and geysers. Beneath the surface, magma heats underground water, which mixes with minerals and bursts forth as hot springs, fumaroles, and geysers. At the Champagne Pool, carbon dioxide bubbles rise like sparkling wine. The orange rim comes from antimony and arsenic deposits, creating a brilliant contrast against the water's bright green hues. Bromo Tengger Semeru National Park, Indonesia. On the island of Java, this protected area brings together active volcanoes, ash deserts, and human communities with ancient traditions. Within this volcanic region lies the Sea of Sand, a desert landscape made up of gray ash and fine dust. It's one of the few volcanic ash deserts on Earth where the wind easily stirs the dust, thickening the air into a suffocating haze. This is the only place in the world where multiple active volcanoes can be seen within a single giant caldera. Among them, Mount Bromo stands out with its ever-smoking active crater. Its original summit was destroyed by multiple eruptions, leaving an open crater that continues to release smoke and gases. A magical phenomenon unfolds inside the caldera at dawn. A sea of clouds forms over the landscape. Moist air carried by trade winds and the nearby ocean condenses into low clouds, trapped by the towering crater walls. Teide National Park, Spain. Also located on the island of Tenerife, this park is dominated by Mount Teide, the highest mountain in Spain and the tallest peak in the entire Atlantic Ocean. Measured from its base on the ocean floor, Teide rises more than 7,500 meters, or 24,606 feet, nearly rivaling Mount Everest. The natural park includes calderas, cones, lava rivers, and other unique formations within an active volcanic region. Although it appears desert-like, alpine vegetation grows here, and in spring, the red tajanaste blooms, painting the landscape crimson. At the volcano's base stretches a vast caldera, the result of a massive collapse caused by earlier volcanic activity. An astronomical observatory also sits within the park, since the area boasts some of the clearest and most spectacular skies on the planet. On clear nights, the Milky Way shines brilliantly across the heavens, visible as a bright band filled with thousands of stars. Fort Monro, Pakistan. This small hill station in the Dera Ghazi Khan district of Punjab province was named after the British colonial officer Sir Robert Grove Sandeman Monro. It once served as a lookout and resting place during the British Empire. From the summit, vast vistas unfold. Eastward lie the Indus Plains, and in the distance stretches the Colistian Desert. Fort Monro marks the gateway to the Suleiman Range, home to tribal communities that still preserve centuries-old traditions. Colca Canyon, Peru. Reaching depths of about 3,200 meters, nearly 10,500 feet, this canyon is twice as deep as the Grand Canyon in the United States. It's one of the best places in the world to witness the majestic flight of the Andean condor, which soars on the thermal updrafts rising from the cliffs. Millions of years ago, the collision between Nazca and the South American plates lifted the land and created the Andes. Volcanoes such as Empado, Sabancaya, and Misti covered the region in lava and ash, later sculpted by erosion into new landscapes. Thousands of agricultural terraces built before the Inca Empire still remain in use today by local farming communities. Pailán del Diablo Waterfall, Ecuador. To reach this powerful waterfall, visitors cross hanging bridges and paths carved into the rock. The Pastaza River, a tributary of the Amazon, plunges violently into a deep jungle canyon. Although it lies in a rainforest, its Andean altitude makes the weather unpredictable. Sunshine can turn to torrential rain within minutes. Shibam, Yemen. Known as the world's first city of skyscrapers, Shibam has been nicknamed the Manhattan of the desert. It preserves hundreds of adobe towers built as early as the 16th century. The city prospered through the trade of frankincense and myrrh, fueled by the caravans that once crossed Arabia. Its compact layout and surrounding walls protected residents from the Bedouin attacks, concentrating life within a vertical fortified core. Dera War Fort, Pakistan. With its square layout and 40 cylindrical bastions visible from afar, this fortress stands as the emblem of the former state of Bahawalpur. During the 19th and 20th centuries, it served as a fiscal, military, and supply post, along with the caravan routes of the Kalastian Desert. On clear days, its towers acted as landmarks, guiding caravans toward wells and safe settlements across the desert. Sarfaranga Cold Desert, Pakistan.
Located near Skardu in the Himalayan Karakoram region, this is a high-altitude cold desert unlike any other.
Here, golden dunes rise against a backdrop of snow-covered peaks. Despite gaining attention in recent years, it remains a rarely visited and little-known destination. In winter, snow partially blankets the dunes, creating a surreal sight: warm sand beside ice and freezing air. The mighty peaks of Karakoram surround the desert, with trails leading toward legendary mountains such as K2. Valles de las Animas, Bolivia. Just outside Las Paz lies this valley of towering rock pinnacles. It earned its name, Valley of the Souls, from the eerie whistling sounds the wind makes as it passes through the stone spires, resembling ghostly cries. The formations were shaped by extreme erosion of volcanic and clay soils, creating a dense forest of stone needles. Despite its barren appearance, life persists here. Plants like koa shrubs and Andean cacti grow resiliently within the cracks. Lake Payasu Pak, Indonesia. Located on the island of Sulawesi, the lake has become a favorite among travelers and locals for its stunning clarity and vivid colors. The water is so transparent that rocks, submerged logs, and patches of white sand are visible at the bottom. Its striking blue hues result from the purity of the environment and the mineral composition of the water. Gurun Caves, Turkey. From afar, the mountain looks ordinary, but up close, dozens of openings reveal themselves. Less known than Cappadocia or Vardeza, this complex of caves was carved by human hands into volcanic rock. They were used as dwellings since ancient times, possibly during the Phrygian or Roman eras, and later inhabited by Byzantine communities. Umferson Sinkhole, Australia. This vast geological collapse has been transformed into a public garden in the city of Mount Gambier, South Australia. In the 19th century, James Umferson, a successful local businessman, envisioned turning the sinkhole into a place of recreation. From its beginnings, it became a gathering spot for picnics, social events, and community celebrations, a tradition that continues to this day. Capitolio Canyons, Brazil. Located in Minas Gerais, in the municipality of Capitolio, this landscape features rocky canyons with waterfalls and emerald green lagoons. The vivid watercolor has earned it the nickname, the Caribbean of Minas. When the Fumas Dam was built in the 1960s, water flooded natural canyons and created the scenery seen today. The best way to explore them is by boat, gliding through the narrow water passages between the canyon walls. Because the cliffs are made of soft layered rock, large chunks occasionally break away and collapse into the water. Fuerteventura, Spain. Though technically not a desert, much of the island is covered by wide and plains, shifting dunes, and volcanic soil reminiscent of Saharan landscapes. These merge with dark lava flows, eroded ochre and red mountains, and valleys nearly bare vegetation. The island's rocky terrain was forged by ancient volcanic eruptions, and its proximity to the Sahara means desert dust and sand often arrive on the wind. In Fuerteventura, the arid stretches run straight into endless beaches like Caralejo and Jandia. The warm desert tones contrast sharply with the deep blue of the Atlantic Ocean. Arches National Park, United States. Located in Utah, this park is one of the world's most stunning desert environments. Its name comes from the extraordinary concentration of natural stone arches, the largest on Earth, with over 2,000 formations recorded. The arches vary in shape and size. Some are long and slender, others short and thick. The landscape also features canyons, mesas, and towering rock pillars that resemble natural sculptures. Each arch has its own life cycle. It forms, evolves, and eventually collapses, so the scenery is constantly changing. Bryce Canyon National Park, United States. This park holds the world's largest collection of hoodoos, formed through water erosion as water seeps into cracks, freezes, and expands. The name Bryce comes from Ebenezer Bryce, a 19th century Mormon settler who called it the canyon that's hard to cross. Natural amphitheaters stretch across the park, rock walls lined with thousands of spires that resemble a silent stone audience. The Paiute people call the Hutus the hunters turned to stone. In winter, snowfall blankets the formations, creating a dramatic contrast between the white snow and red rock. Valdez Peninsula, Argentina. Located in Chubut, Patagonia, this peninsula is one of the world's most important wildlife sanctuaries. It's a windy, arid landmass jutting into the Atlantic Ocean, connected to the mainland by a narrow isthmus. Surrounded by nutrient-rich waters and geographically isolated, it preserves a pristine ecosystem with unique species interactions. It's among the few places on Earth where visitors can observe the southern right whale up close, a species once nearly extinct. Newborn calves feed exclusively on their mother's milk, rich in fat, allowing them to grow rapidly in the cold waters. Sea lion colonies here are among the largest in South America. During breeding season, beaches fill with massive males surrounded by harems of 10 to 15 females. Elephant seals are perhaps the most imposing residents of the peninsula. The males can weigh up to 4 tons and are distinguished by their large proboscis. Every year, from August to November, thousands gather among the shores to breed. Diskit Monastery, India. Founded in the 14th century, this Tibetan Buddhist monastery of the Gelugpa school serves as both an educational and spiritual center for the valley's inhabitants. It sits atop a hill overlooking the Shyok River Valley, offering breathtaking panoramic views. Its architecture is distinctly Tibetan: whitewashed walls, flat roofs, patented wooden windows, and colorful prayer flags fluttering in the wind. Nearby on a ridge stands a golden statue of Maitreya Buddha, built through donations from monks and the local community. It was erected not only as a religious monument, but also as a symbol of peace among India, China, and Pakistan in this sensitive border region. Yalu Geopark, Taiwan. Situated on the Yalu Peninsula in northern Taiwan, the park is renowned for its surreal rock formations sculpted over millions of years. The area is filled with stones shaped like mushrooms, beehives, human faces, and animal silhouettes. Some formations rise as slender columns topped with stone hats, while others resemble craters or honeycombs. The park's emblem is the Queen's Head, a rock that looks like a crowned profile and has become Yalu's iconic landmark. New Caledonia, France. In the southwest Pacific, off the coast of Australia, lies the French territory. It has a vast lagoon protected by coral reefs. To the east, the New Hebrides Trench marks the point where the Indo-Australian Plate sinks beneath the Pacific Plate. The process builds up immense pressure in the Earth's crust, eventually fracturing it. The region is home to many unique plant and animal species. The Isle of Pines, east of the main island, was named for its abundance of tall Araucaria pines. Here also lives the giant gecko, Rhacodactylus riccianus, one of the largest gecko species in the world. Pico Ca'ao Grande, Sao Tome Principe. The volcanic monolith rises dramatically from the heart of the tropical rainforest, a natural icon of Sao Tome Island in the Gulf of Guiana. It represents the solidified core of an extinct volcano, where magma cooled and hardened millions of years ago without reaching the surface. Putene-Ruha Pinnacles, New Zealand. Although the country is known for its lush green mountains, this area presents an unusual dry, dusty landscape. It's a place in constant transformation, a moment captured within a vast geological timeline. The site gained worldwide fame not only for its striking formations, but also for appearing in films such as The Return of the King. Ojos de Mar, Argentina. These brilliantly colored lagoons, shades of turquoise and deep blue, lie in the middle of the salt desert of Tolar Grande. Here survive stromatolites, microorganisms similar to those that existed 3.5 billion years ago, essential to the creation of oxygen and the evolution of life. The Os de Mar formed when the salt crust of the Solar collapsed, opening sinkholes that filled with underground water. Because they're located in such an extreme environment, high altitude and surrounded by salt, they've become a natural laboratory for astrobiologists searching for analogs to Mars. Alcantara Gorges, Italy. Located on the island of Sicily, the Alcantara River is famous for the striking geometry of the canyons it has carved. Around 8,000 years ago, Mount Etna spewed lava flows that blanketed the valley, and as the river made its way towards the sea, it cut a new path toward the hardened rock. In summer, visitors wade into the icy waters, which remain refreshingly cold even under the blazing heat. Namaqualand, South Africa, and Namibia. For most of the year, this region appears desert-like, with reddish soil, low shrubs, and rolling dunes of rock and sand. Locals call its transformation flower season or the spring miracle. The area's vegetation shows extraordinary adaptations. Underground bulbs store water, and dormant seeds wait for the rains. When the first showers arrive, they germinate almost instantly, covering the desert with a blanket of wildflowers in a matter of weeks. Valley of Rocks, Bolivia. Expansive volcanic formations shape this surreal landscape of sculpted stone. They were created millions of years ago during a period of intense volcanic activity. Some rocks balance impossibly or thin bases, defying gravity and logic. Gocta Cataracts, Peru. Located in northern Peru's Amazonas region, this waterfall plunges 771 meters, about 2,530 feet, making it one of the tallest in the world. Although it's only gained international attention recently, local communities have known it for generations. Gioia Lagoon, Greece. Carved into the coastal rock of the island of Thasos, this natural pool is separated from the sea by a narrow stone wall. Over centuries, relentless waves eroded the sedimentary cliffs, forming a cavity that gradually filled with seawater. Despite appearing isolated, the lagoon maintains a partial underground connection to the sea, allowing salt water to flow in and out. Lipa Cave, Montenegro. Open to the public in 2015, this site is part of the vast underground network beneath the Lovćen region. It's among the few caves in southeastern Europe equipped for visitors. Local and foreign explorers documented it in the 19th century, though residents of the area had known of its existence long before. White Cliffs of Dover, United Kingdom. Situated on England's southeast coast, facing the Strait of Dover, the closest point to continental Europe, these cliffs are iconic. Their brilliant color comes from calcium carbonate deposits laid down over 70 million years ago. The cliffs have long symbolized England itself, often the first site of home for travelers arriving from Europe. During World War II, they became an emblem of British resilience. Atop the cliff stands Dover Castle, a historic fortress vital to the country's coastal defense. Wave Rock, Australia. This immense granite wall, viewed from the side, looks like a giant ocean wave frozen in time. The formation is composed of granite roughly 2.7 billion years old, older than most of Earth's continents. Over millions of years, rainwater dissolved minerals near the base, eroding it faster than the upper section and shaping its graceful curve. Pink Lake of Torrevieja, Spain. This natural salt lagoon has been used for salt extraction since the Middle Ages. It remains one of Europe's largest salt works, yielding hundreds of thousands of tons annually. The lake's pink hue comes from the microalgae Dunalia salina, which produces carotenoid pigments, enhanced by salt-loving bacteria that intensify the color. As salinity and sunlight increase, the water deepens into a vivid rose pink. Volcán de Fuego, Guatemala. Famed for its nearly constant activity, this volcano regularly puts on dizzying natural displays of eruptions.
It rises at the point where the Cocos Plate subducts beneath the Caribbean Plate, creating a continuous rise of magma.
On clear days, its summit emits visible plumes of smoke. At night, during heightened activity, incandescent lava flows down its slopes in fiery rivers visible from miles away. Within the dark volcanic column, electrical storms often ignite. They're caused by friction between ash and rock particles that charge the eruption cloud, releasing spectacular bolts of lightning. Inside the billowing ash, these flashes pierce the darkness with breathtaking brilliance. Quiver Tree Forest, Namibia. Far from a conventional forest, this is a gathering of giant aloes endemic to southern Africa. These trees can live up to 300 years, perfectly adapted to a climate of extreme aridity. The Sand People, ancient hunter-gatherers of the region, used the hollow branches to make quivers for their arrows, hence the name. Often, sociable weavers occupy the cavities of massive communal nests built by other species, which they don't construct themselves but readily take over. Stromatodolites of Shark Bay, Australia. These rock-like formations are created by microorganisms, such as cyanobacteria, which trap and bind sediment over millions of years. Shark Bay is one of the few places on Earth where these ancient life forms still grow, offering a glimpse into what early life on our planet looked like. Blue Lake, Russia. Its crystal clear waters offer perfect visibility, making it a favorite destination for divers, free divers, and underwater photographers. The lake formed from freshwater springs that filter minerals slowly, maintaining exceptional purity. It's part of a region dotted with hidden lakes and springs that emerge through fissures in the earth. The ecosystem is minimal. There are a few large fish and little dense vegetation, which helps keep the water pristine. Its stone walls seem hand-carved, their strange shapes the result of natural erosion. Tornado Alley, United States. This region combines the perfect meteorological conditions for the formation of violent and spectacular storms. Flat terrain allows cold, dry air from the north to collide with warm, moist air rising from the Gulf of Mexico. The clash generates massive storms with rapidly rotating air currents. From the ground, they appear as a wall of dark clouds creeping across the horizon. Factory Butte, United States. Resembling a colossal fortress, this isolated landform rises dramatically from Utah's desert. Its slopes are etched with vertical grooves carved by erosion, giving it the look of a natural citadel. The top is flat like a table, standing in stark contrast to the steep ridges below. Mount Rinjani, Indonesia. On the island of Lombok stands Indonesia's second highest peak, a mighty stratovolcano whose crater holds the serene Sagara Anak Lake. It was formed by the collision of two tectonic plates. The Indo-Australian plate subducts beneath the Eurasian, creating the volcanic arc of Indonesia. Within the lake rises Barojari Volcano, a smaller cone that occasionally emits smoke and ash. Active volcanoes like this often form multiple vents through which magma and gases erupt. Rain brings in Norway. This iconic mountain in Norway, Lofoten's archipelago, offers one of the country's most breathtaking views. Its summit is not a narrow peak, but a ridge that extends like a natural balcony over the ocean. From here, one can see the Rhinefjorden and the Kjørkenfjorden fjords, dotted with islands and peaks that look straight out of a postcard. The access trail was reinforced with thousands of stone steps built by Sherpas from Nepal to improve safety and reduce erosion. Pumice Stonefield, Argentina. The immense expanse of pale volcanic rock stretches across the desert, surrounded by dark-toned volcanoes. It's the largest pumice field in the world, formed by a massive volcanic eruption thousands of years ago. Its bright, lightweight appearance creates a lunar or even Martian landscape unique in South America. The rocks take on whimsical shapes, towers, ridges, giant blocks, and figures that seem sculpted by an artist's hand. Green Lake, Austria. Named for its emerald green color, this lake changes dramatically with the seasons. During winter, it nearly vanishes, but in spring and early summer, it expands spectacularly with crystal clear meltwater from the surrounding mountains. Its color comes from the purity of the snowmelt and the vegetation beneath the surface, which reflects sunlight. Until 2016, it was a popular diving site where visitors explored submerged meadows, but access is now restricted to protect its fragile ecosystem. Lake Elton, Russia. The largest salt lake in Europe and one of the saltiest in the world, it lies in the Volgograd region near the Kazakh border. Surrounding it stretches a stark salt steppe landscape, sparsely covered with plants adapted to salinity. In spring, when water still lingers, the lake mirrors the sky like an enormous glass expanse. Issyk-Kul, Badlands, Kyrgyzstan. Next to Irkutsk Lake, one of the largest alpine lakes on Earth, stretches a landscape of canyons, clay hills, and ochre-red deserts. They're called Badlands because the terrain is so arid, eroded, and rugged that it's nearly impossible to cultivate or inhabit. The uplift caused by the Tian Shan mountain range exposed soft layers of sediment, which wind and storms sculpted into grooves, pillars, and gorges. Iron and manganese oxides produce red, orange, and yellow hues, while the clays added gray and brownish tones. Viana Canyons, Brazil. Still little known to tourists, this spot in northeastern Brazil is considered one of the region's hidden treasures. It's often called the Brazilian Antelope Canyon for its resemblance to the famous one in Arizona. The canyon walls shift in color, reddish at midday, golden at sunset, and purple at dawn. Cathedral Cove, New Zealand. A wide white sand beach is framed by a massive stone arch, shaped like the nave of a cathedral. It's named Cathedral because the natural arch resembles a Gothic hall with a vaulted ceiling. The solitary rock offshore is said to look like a stone ship anchored in the bay. Basira Tract, Kazakhstan. In the Mangostar region, within the vast Caspian Depression, this place combines extreme geology with the silence of the desert. Once part of a prehistoric sea, its cliffs and towers formed from shells, marine skeletons, and layers of limestone. Over time, wind, water, and tectonic movement carved the terrain into canyons, ridges, spires, and pale stone towers. The climate is fiercely dry with scorching summers and freezing winters, amplifying the sense of desolation. Spotted Lake, Canada. During summer, this lake becomes covered in multicolored circles that look almost painted by hand. These spots are mineral deposits forming natural pools separated by thin, salty ridges. Tusajan Suvarga, Mongolia. Known as the White Stupa, this area of the Gobi Desert features cliffs that resemble a ghostly stone city. From afar, the cliffs evoke the shape of Buddhist stupas, sacred monuments across Asia. Unlike many dune-filled deserts, the Gobi is mostly rock terrain, with arid plateaus and low ridges. The cliffs display vivid color bands ranging from white to ochre, yellow, red, and lilac, tones created by minerals and oxides. Biste de Nazan Wilderness, United States. Located in New Mexico, this area has a surreal appearance, filled with formations that resemble stone beings and enormous mushroom-shaped rocks. These natural figures, called hoodoos, look like narrow rock towers capped with balancing stone hats. 70 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, the region was covered by rivers, swamps, and tropical forests. Sediment accumulated over time, compacting into sandstone and forming these fantastical structures. Zingy Rouge, Madagascar. The forest of redstone pillars and spires was carved by the combined force of wind and water. It formed only a few thousand years ago, a brief moment compared to Madagascar's much older landscapes. Within each rainy season, some spires collapse while new ones emerge, creating a landscape that's constantly reshaped. Ischigualesto, Argentina. This valley evokes the surface of the moon, desert expanses, pale soils, and rock formations sculpted by wind and water. It was formed around 225 million years ago, when the area was a river plain covered in forests. Among its iconic shapes is the mushroom, a solitary monument of stone rising from the lunar desert. La Concha de Boyas is dotted with spherical sandstone boulders rounded by erosion. The phenomenon, known as spheroidal concretion, occurs when minerals gradually accumulate around a central core. This was only a glimpse of the wonders our planet keeps in silence, places that inspire, astonish, and move us. See you on the next journey.